All right. Good evening or good morning, Sir Squad. It's currently 4 in the morning, so I really don't know. I'm Cadet Michael Schroeder, and I'll be briefing you guys on our squad raid on Objective Phantom. So this evening, I'll be briefing 1st Squad, 1st Platoon Charger Company 1-15 Infantry on our squad raid on Objective Phantom. Alpha Team, are we up? Bravo Team, are we up? Weapons Team, are we up? Good. Make sure you take notes. It's currently 4 in the morning. At the end of this brief, you can ask questions, but for right now, I'm going to be talking. So I'm going to be primarily going off the company level operations overlay, the GTAO, and the enemy SynTemp, which we'll go over with later on. From the maps, up will be north, south will be downwards, then east and west, right and left. Okay, so we will be operating this entire mission in local time plus 8 hours, Zulu plus 8 hours, that's what it's called, so just give me 8 hours in advance. Our task order for this operation is 1st Squad with all assets, as long with the addition of 3 medium machine gun teams attached from the weapon squad. Our squad task and purpose is to attack and destroy Objective Phantom, located at this point right over here, in order to deny enemy influence in the area of operations team. In the area of operations, our teams, Alpha Team, will be occupying security positions to protect the Bravo Team. Weapons Team, Bravo Team will be the assault element to attack and destroy Objective Phantom in order to deny enemy access to their immediate mortar. Weapons Team will be the support by fire elements supporting the. So now I'm going to go over the area of operations and area of interest. So for our area of operations, we're going to be primarily focusing on our 37 northing and our 31 northing. So it's going to be top to bottom. For our east and west boundaries, we're going to be primarily focusing on this big ridge line on the east, and then followed by this river located on the west. So these are east and west, north and south. Okay, so now we're going to be covering some key points of interest. So some key points of interest would be this bridge right over here, as long as Route Camaro. This is very important because it traverses through our entire area of operations, and it's the main supply route for our friendly forces. We're also going to have to take into account the enemy's close air support because it has a 30-minute reaction time, but I don't think it's necessary to worry about that since it only triggers a response for large like element sizes and like something like considering a battalion or something, which we wouldn't necessarily have to worry about for this specific operation. So for fires, the enemy is going to have access to a 152 millimeter howitzer battery, which will be located southwest, and it'll have a 10-minute response time and it will fire on like squad sized elements, so we really aren't their primary target in the first place. The medium mortar located here in Objective Phantom is going to have a 5-minute response time, but it's also targeting in the defense of Objective Bobcat in our AO. The enemy also has access to 1 reserve platoon motorized infantry with a 40-minute response time to our southwest. Alright, so for this time I'm going to be talking about our GTAO, our graphics terrain analysis overlay, so it's important that you are looking into that as I go over this. Primarily I'm going to be talking about terrain and weather. So to start off with terrain, I'm going to be talking about obstacles. As you can see over here on our east, that there are very steep ridge lines. That's indicating that there's obviously a mountain over here. It's very steep, very small. The more like condensed the ridge lines, the more steeper it gets. You could clearly see that this is a mountain over here, and you don't really want anything to do with that. So that's one thing. You also have to take into consideration for heavy wooded areas and shrubs, because you don't want to be fighting in that area. It's going to hinder your freedom of maneuver, not only for the enemy but also our friendly forces, and it's going to be a very hectic fight that's not ideal. You don't want to be fighting in an area you don't really, where like you can't really move, and it's not going to be fun. So that's that. So for avenues of approach, people could access Route Camaro throughout AL Ronin, alongside with the roads through Route Camaro. For two pieces of key terrain, we have the first one located right at this bridge over here. We could assume this is a bridge. This is where all enemy reinforcements will be traveling through. And that's very ideal because it makes them very vulnerable to attacks by our friends. The second piece of key terrain, we're going to be overlooking right about here where this hilltop is, overlooking Objective Phantom, giving us friendly forces the high ground over the enemy forces overlooking Objective Phantom. So this is ideal because it provides us high ground and concealment against the enemy, because you could see them much more than they could see you. And it's for observation fields of fire. You're going to be overlooking many of these draws and spurs coming out from here, from that hilltop. For cover and concealment, much of the area we'll be working in is obviously going to be like very shrubby and woody areas. So it's going to provide us lots of concealment, but not lots of cover, because you could still get shot at through those areas. But, you know, they can't see you, but that doesn't mean that you can't get shot at. If you get shot at, you could get killed possibly. It doesn't provide full coverage for you. You just are more hidden by that. The visibility is going to be very, very, very low at night. So it's very ideal for us because our night vision capabilities are far superior as opposed to our enemy forces. So that's one plus we have against them. For the weather, the precipitation, cloud cover, and humidity all will be very high, which honestly is very ideal because as I once heard, the more humid, the more rain, the better it is for you to have freedom of maneuver and without being heard. Because the more dry the area is, it's going to sound like more. It's going to be more loud as opposed to a humid environment. You're not going to be heard as much. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to be going over our enemy situation slide. So as a company, Charger Co. is facing a North Torbian company. We're going to have two motorized platoons in these circles over left over here, as well as two air defense platoons located over here and over here. We're going to have an additional reconnaissance squad as well as a mortar team located in the vicinity here. As a platoon, we are facing a North Torbian-sized platoon consisting of 3 squads, which will be located one over here in this village over here, one over here in this village over here, and then the northern long route Camaro. We'll also, in addition to this platoon, we'll also have a certain amount of reconnaissance squads over here, along with a mortar team-sized element located right around over here, which is our primary adversary, because that's where first squad will be attacking. The primary team has 4 packs at 100% strength, and we'll now be turning our attention to the squad level enemy situation. The mission of the medium mortar team is to disrupt U.S. forces in order to support the North Torbian defense of Objective Bobcat. Their weapons range will equate to around 400 meters, so I forgot what the scale is over here, but just try to picture what 400 meters is. Our high value and high payoff target will be at the 82 millimeter mortar, roughly equivalent to our United States' equivalent of an M252 system. It's going to be a high value target since the primary source of fire for the enemy will also be a high payoff target, because when we eliminate it, we can increase our friendly freedom of maneuver. And for the North Torbian squad located over here, we are going to have 9 packs with K-141 machine guns with along with other small arms. Enemy capabilities about warfighting functions. So, first we're going to talk about intelligence. Intelligence is going to be a weakness for them because their leadership isn't as good opposed to our friendly forces form of leadership. The movement of maneuver, it's going to be a weakness because they have more teams that are separated from their own enemy forces, so they're not going to be able to break contact and while we're conducting an attack against them, because they're all located in these different areas where they can't break contact. The fires will also be another weakness for the enemy forces because they attain the mortar and howitzer, which aren't going to be really targeting our units that we're conducting a movement against them on. Instead, they're going to be targeting AO Amarok to our east, so that wouldn't be a huge problem for us. One of their strengths, I would say, is going to be their protection because of their strong screening element over here, which we're eventually going to have to get through. We're going to eventually have to pass through. Sustainment's also a strength. As long as Route Camaro remains open, they'll remain very well supplied. For the enemy, most likely course of action for that mortars team, we could reference the enemy situations tab. Okay, so the mortar team is helping the North Torbian defense objective Bobcat to our east by disrupting U.S. forces with indirect fire. Their primary enabler is the identification of U.S. forces, which will be conducted by their reconnaissance squad. It's a primary enabler because they're relying on the squad to detect any assaulting forces, which are us, obviously. Their desired end state is to secure objective Phantom passed by the civilians in AO Ronin, and to disrupt U.S. forces assaulting objective Bobcat and to minimize their own friendly casualties. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the higher orders headquarter mission. Our company's intent is the Charger Company 1-5 Infantry will disrupt enemy forces in AO Ronin no later than 30th of August 2022, 100 hours, in order to deny enemy influence in the battalion-sized operation. To expand upon that purpose, we're going to be conducting a squad operation in the depth of AO Ronin to conceal current capabilities, Charger Company, disrupt the enemy commander's decision cycle, and force the enemy to divert combat power from objective Bobcat, and by the time for Charger Company to reconsolidate. Our key tasks as a company are to disrupt enemy operations, deny the uncontested use of high-speed avenues approach, and retain our own maximal combat power, and to reconsolidate 2nd and 3rd Platoon. Those platoons will be operating around northward of us, but we wouldn't be able to get into contact with them because of them having different radio channels, so we can't look out for them. We can't reach out to them for help. All right. So for now, our platoons. 1st Platoon, Charger Company will disrupt enemy forces in AO Ronin no later than 30th of August at 2200 hours in order to deny enemy influence in the battalion main effort. We'll be doing this by conducting 3 different squad missions. So for this first squad, we'll be advancing on Axis Ultra in order to destroy objective Phantom. 2nd squad will be ambushing to destroy objective Reaper. I'm pretty sure what you call it. In order to disrupt enemy operations along Route Camaro. 3rd squad will be demonstrating to suppress the enemy on objective Ghost over here in order to deceive the enemy of U.S. forces composition and distribution. Our key task as a platoon is to disrupt the enemy and deny access to avenues of approach, retain our own combat power, and to avoid large engagements. The desired end state is to complete this with minimized civilian casualties and to disrupt the North Torbian forces and reconsolidate our units for further offensive operations. Sir, this concludes my end brief. Are there any questions?